Morning everyone, we have got today a 2014 Toyota Aygo. The fellow that brought it into me, it's his daughter's car, and he said it's got an ABS fault. I scanned it and it's got C1331, which is open circuit, and it was on the left hand wheel. He also bought a new sensor, so I replaced the sensor yesterday, which was a bit of a nightmare because I had to drill the old one out. I took that bolt out down there, but the sensor wouldn't come out. Took that out, plugged it back in, scanned it again, and the code was still there. So, bit of a problem. What did I do next? I tried to employ a little bit of strategic thinking. I was going to take the sensor off of this side, but bearing in mind how difficult it was to get the sensor on the other side out, I didn't want to break this one because this sensor does work. So what I did was I thought, if I can fool the car into thinking that the right hand sensor is on the left hand side, then maybe I can check. So what I did was, and you can see them there, I've got the wires. I ran two wires up and took off this connection up here, that one up there, and I then fed this side of the car, the left hand side of the car, with the feed from this sensor up here. So I connected it to that connector up there, effectively making this sensor connect into the left hand wiring loom. When I did that, I went and rescanned the car. Now at this point it's still saying left hand wheel sensor because I've reconnected it back in, but what happened was that the code moved to the right hand side of the car because this was disconnected. I don't know if that makes sense in any way, but effectively the left hand side of the car, this side over here, was okay. Sorry for the wobbly camera, but I'm on a tight schedule this morning. So I have fed this connector up here, that connector up there that you can just see, I fed that with the signal from the other side of the car, and the fault disappeared from this side and moved to the other side. So what I'm going to do before I replace the sensor, because what I think's wrong is that the new sensor is faulty, what I'm going to do, I'll do it off camera, I'm going to connect the faulty sensor, the one that I think is faulty, on the other side, and I'm going to use these wires again, and I'm going to bring the signal from that new sensor to the wiring loom on this side. I'll scan the car again, and if the fault moves to the right hand side of the car, then I've proven that that sensor is faulty. I hope that makes sense. So what I'm doing is I'm switching the signals from one side to the other to check that it's correct. Once I've got it wired up, I'll come back and let you see. Okay, welcome back. So what I've done is I've gone to, see, it's really awkward to film in here, I hope we can see it up there. I've gone to the wiring loom for the front right hand wheel, and I've gone to the sensor on the left hand wheel, which is this one here. And what I'm going to try and do now is I'm going to rescan the car, and what I hope is that the code has moved from the left hand wheel over to this wheel here, because this wiring loom, the wiring loom for this wheel, is being fed from what I think is the faulty sensor. So let me just bring this back down. I need to check ignition's on. I don't think it is. Back in a minute. Okay, so what I've got here is currently it's showing the left hand speed sensor circuit open, C1331. What I'm hoping is now, you stop saying hoping too many times, what I anticipate now is that when I clear these, this code will now move to the right hand side. So I'm going to clear the DTC. Yes. Yes to that. And what I've now got is a problem with the right hand front speed sensor circuit is open. and the left-hand speed sensor circuit is obviously open because there's nothing connected to that just now. That's just an open wiring loom. So what I've proven is, I think, so I'm going to clear that DTC again. Yes, yes. DTCs. Yes, yes. And a bit of a problem here. Yes, yes. Okay, so what I've got is the right front speed sensor is showing open. The left one is showing open because there's nothing plugged into that just now. But the right front sensor circuit is open because it's connected to what I think is a faulty new circuit. So I'm going to clear these codes once again. And I'm hoping that that right-hand circuit comes back as open. So I'm looking for the right-hand wheel to be open. And it's not. I'm going to clear it again, see if it comes back. And read codes. And the right front sensor. So there's something not quite right with that sensor. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. There seems to be an issue with it. So I'm fairly confident. I'll do it one more time. I'm going to clear. Yeah, sorry this is taking so long. At least you're fast forwarding it. I'm doing it in real time. Read the codes again. Once again, I'm hoping for the right front sensor is coming back as open again. So it's coming and going. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. But I'm pretty certain that's what the issue with it is. I checked the resistance on it when I first got it, and it was 800 ohms, which is a bit low. I'm going to open up the new speed sensor and I'm going to do an ohm test on that and see what that comes out as. Welcome back. Sorry this has not been the best video in the world, but hopefully it's all making sense. What I've done is I've left the new sensor that was supplied with the car. This came from Euro Car Parts. That's an Aygo brake part. I've disconnected that, and the new Bosch ABS sensor that I bought today, I've just left that loose. I've not put it in the car just in case it wasn't that, and I've connected that in. And coming back round, we can see we have no DTCs. I'll just read the codes again just to let it check. There are no codes detected. Though, just to finally prove that there is something wrong with that sensor, I'm going to unplug the new one and then plug the other Aygo one back in and then see what the result is. I'm going to try and do it one-handed, but I don't know if I can. So that's the Bosch one unplugged. To tilt you back a wee bit. Oh, I know you can't see it. There we go. So I'm going to plug that back in. I'm going to put the camera down just for a little bit. Sorry, I know it's rubbish when people do that. So that's the Aygo ABS sensor plugged back in. I'll be getting travel sickness with the amount of bumping that's getting done here. So, no codes with the Bosch sensor in. Read codes. And lo and behold, left front speed sensor circuit open. Now I'm just going to prove it one more time. I'm going to go back and switch them back to the Bosch one. Belt and braces effect here. And what I might do is find somewhere nice for you to sit. My tool trolley. Know how well this is going to work. There we go. So you see my big backside. Unplug. Old sensor. Plug in new sensor. Or new sensor, as opposed to new old sensor. Back round we come. And we should now, if I clear these codes, yes and yes, no codes, no codes, success. I'm going to plug everything back together and I'll come back and just let you know what the final outcome was. Okay everyone, I need to do a wee finishing off of the Aygo ABS problem. Just to recap, just making sure you can see the whiteboard here, what we had was a problem with the left sensor, and without going into a whole lot of detail, what I did was I proved that the new sensor that had been provided with the car was faulty. That was the Aygo one that came from Euro Car Parts. I went back to Euro Car Parts and got the Bosch OEM sensor, put that on, and the fault code, the C1331 code, disappeared. And then I thought, that's the job done, sorted. Put the car back off the ramp, put all the wheels on, went for a test drive, and the dashboard lit up like a Christmas tree once again with the ABS. When I looked at the live data, this wheel, and this wheel were all showing data coming through, consistent data. This wheel here was showing a maximum of 1 mph. So my question to myself was, although the sensor isn't given C1331, is there another problem with the sensor? Now it did give another code which I never took a note of, but it was a different code from C1331. However, thinking sensibly, the chances of both of those new sensors being faulty was pretty slim, infinitesimal. It's about as much chance of me getting 100 subscribers as there was of those two things being faulty. So it must have been something else, and the only other thing I could think of was that whatever activates the sensor was faulty. Now in some cars it's a reluctor ring, so you've got, especially in the back of cars, you'll have a ring with a lot of teeth on it, called the reluctor wheel, and the magnet picks those up. However, in the Aygo, on the front wheels at least, it's buried inside the front wheel bearing. Now if this is a front wheel bearing here, this is what it looks like. On one side it's just plain, and on this side, on this face, there is a magnetic insert. So I spoke to the person that owned the car and says, I think what the problem can only be after all of this must be to do with this bearing. Although the bearing itself is fine, there was no noise off the bearing, no rumbles, no play in it at all, the whole hub carrier itself is quite rusty. When I took the half shaft out, I took the front drive shaft out, sorry I never filmed any of this, but I had to get it done in a real rush. When I took the front drive shaft out, the inside of the hub carrier was pretty rusty, pretty crusty as they say. And so I took the chance that something had happened to that magnetic ring that was inside the bearing, and managed to track down a new bearing for £15. And I thought, well, if I throw £15 at the car plus an hour to change a bearing, that might just be enough to solve the problem. So what I did was managed to do the bearing on the car. I've got one of these bearing presses, a big long screwed rod. It's been one of the best buys I've ever had. I've never managed to, or I've never failed to get a bearing out using that. I've never had to resort to a hydraulic press since I've had the long forcing screw type one. I think they're called OTG, or on the car bearing hub grabbers, or all sorts of different names for them, but I guess you know the idea. And very quickly took the old bearing out and put the new one in, put the sensor back in, the new known good sensor, put the wheels back on the car, and lo and behold, this ring, so with the sensor down sitting in front of it and the wheel spinning round, as soon as that started turning, when I was going up the driveway, I could see in the live data that the wheel was registering, instead of 0 mile per hour, it was now in line with all the other ones. And all the Christmas tree lights disappeared. So I think the moral of this story is, 1, don't trust new parts, especially if they're the cheap new parts, because there is a chance that they might not work. Don't just take it as gospel that they definitely do work. In this case, it wasn't. And also, maybe don't assume that there is only one problem with the system that's got a fault in it. Once you find one fault, which was the C1331, the sensor wasn't working. Subsequently though, we found out that the part which triggers the sensor, the magnetic tone ring, was also faulty. So all in all, it was a pretty unfortunate set of affairs for the owner of the car. However, in the end it didn't cost that much. The Bosch sensor was £25 and the tone ring and the bearing was £15, so in total that was £40, and my payment for doing the servicing and doing that was 2 nice bottles of red wine. So all in all, the whole thing was done for a bit less than £70. Hope you've enjoyed that. Sorry I didn't film any of that wheel bearing part of it, but hopefully my whiteboard here has somehow got the message across. Thanks for watching, and if you feel like it, you can always hit the like button or subscribe or whatever you like. See you later. Bye.